Hello participants, I welcome you in this Organizational Behavior MOOCs course. I am the course coordinator, Professor Rishipal, Professor of Pedagogy and Capacity Building in Shri Vishwakarma Skill University. This course is specifically meant for the management and psychology disciplines, and this course is for undergraduate students, and this course can be studied by the student of BBA, BCom, BA Psychology, BA Clinical Psychology, and the duration of this course is 15 weeks and credit for this course are 3, and the medium of instruction during delivery will be English. The basic objective of this course are to introduce the organizational behavior, and yes, to understand how the various principles of organizational behavior can be practiced. And not only this, nowadays each and every course include the knowledge part, the skill part and the attitude part. So, there are certain skills by practicing which one can be a successful organizational behavior manager. So, the basic emphasis of this course is this, and after completion of this course, the participants will be capable to understand the various concepts, various principles and various strategies of organizational behavior, and participants will also be competent to practice the principles and skills of organizational behavior, and in doing so it will help them to be productive, effective and efficient in their respective organizations. So, this is the learning outcome, and this complete course is divided into 15 units. The first unit is related to the introduction and historical part of organizational behavior, that is how the organizational behavior has came into existence. The second unit will deal with the contemporary issues, challenges, and yes, of course, what are different elements of organizational behavior, that is the individual, group and the organization. And the third unit is related to the employee's attitude, which will include job satisfaction, organizational commitment and organizational citizenship behavior. In the fourth unit, we shall be dealing with the organizational behavior methods, and in the fifth unit, we shall be talking about work motivation, early theories related to the work motivation, and specifically it will include the theories of Maslow, McCallendal and two-factor theory of Herzberg. And in the sixth unit, we shall be talking about again the work motivation, which will include other theories like goal setting, equity theory and expectancy theory. In the seventh unit, we will discuss about the organizational culture, organizational climate and environmental concerns in an organization, so that the productivity, effectiveness and efficiency can be enhanced. And in eighth unit, we will talk about the perception, personality and values which are required to be practiced in organizational behavior by the individuals. In the unit 9, we will discuss about the power and politics, how power influences the behavior of others and how the power should be delegated and people can be empowered. And then in the same unit, we will also be talking about the sexual harassment and organizational politics. In the 10th unit, it is again very significant unit in the organizational behavior course, and unit will deal with the leadership. It is not possible to run any organization without effective leadership. So, what are various principles, factors which are responsible for making the leaders as effective leader? So, in this we will talk about the basic approaches of leadership, we will talk about the trait theory and behavioral theories, and yes, of course, the contingency theory of leadership. In the next unit again, the leadership with the contemporary issues and inspirational approaches of leadership, and we shall be talking about the rules of leadership in the contemporary times. And we will also discuss at the end of this unit the challenges of leadership and the problems being faced in the organization by the leaders. And the 12th unit, we will talk about the emotions and emotional intelligence. In the present scenario, emotions have become an important instrument not only in their personal life, but also at the work life, and emotional intelligence plays a key important role in running the organization effectively. And in the 14th unit, we will talk about the group, that is team and groups, how groups came into existence, that is formation of the group, and what are different type of groups among organizations, and what are their rules, and how these groups can help the organization in achievement of its goal. And yes, we will also discuss about the group dynamism and equations of relationships among individuals, among departments, and organization as a whole. In the next unit, we will talk about various assignment, and we will discuss about whatever we would have been covered up so far. And in the last 15th session, we will talk about the summation of assignment, and if there will be any kind of problem or a discussion related to that. Now, discussing about how the teaching learning process will go, because I shall be delivering and all you shall be participating. So, to make the teaching learning process interesting, we will have different kind of pedagogical methods. Among them, we will use the lecture, then yes, the presentation parallelly. We will provide you the slides of presentation, and during this delivery, we will use the method of discussion also, and in between among the sessions, we will also involve the strategy of problem solving, so that understanding can be better used, and the case study method, assignment method will also be used for delivery. And on the completion as well as during the delivery, we will use different evaluative strategies, and among them we will use the assignment method, we will give certain kind of practical activities also, and in the final exam we will take different methodologies to assess the performance of students. And yes, to support the participants, to support the learners, we will provide the learning resources in the form of the presentation, in the form of other animated clips, as well as the books and online links, which will support the participant in proper preparation for their course. Some of the important books which students can use, the first one is the Aswathapa K Organizational Behaviour, which is published by Himalaya Publishing House, and another book is Luthans F, and again it is Organizational Behaviour book, and the third book is L. M. Prasad book on the same topic, organizational behavior. And one more book which students can refer is Griffin's R.W. as well as Moorhead G. Organizational Behavior book. So, this was a brief introduction to this program, and now we will start discussing, and we will start understanding the various different concepts, and yes, of course, we will try to learn the skills to practice the various principles of organizational behavior. And to start with To start with, the very first unit, as I told you, is the introduction to the organizational behavior and its historical antecedents. And if we talk about the introduction of organizational behavior, then in this topic very first we will talk about the meaning of organizational behavior, and we will try to understand the concept of organizational behavior in detail, and then we will try to understand the need for the study of this course in management and psychology. And yes, of course, we will also try to understand what are objectives of learning organizational behavior and what is importance in organization. If someone is well trained in the discipline area of organizational behavior, then how it is important in running the organization effectively. And we will also discuss in this particular unit about the scope of organizational behavior and nature. And at the end of the session, we will also discuss about the historical development of organizational behavior, or we can say the evolutionary process of development of organizational behavior. So, let us start with the meaning of organizational behavior. If we talk about meaning, this term organizational behavior is consist of two words, organizational and behavior. If we talk about organizational means anything which is related to the organization, that is organizational. If we talk about behavior, then it is really a very comprehensive and large concept. We have approximately 7.3 billion people on this earth, and everyone has got a different and unique behavior, and same is the status with the organizations. If we see the organizations from the top of the earth, then there are variety of organizations, and among organizations there are millions of people working with them, and each and every person has got a different and unique behavior. So, behavior is a very complex, comprehensive and tedious process, and organizations shall be having people working with them with different their behavior. Now, simply understanding the meaning of behavior is, it is the observable action, whatever observable action individual can present, that is behavior. In day to day life, there might be variety of situations where different people behave in different manner. But if we talk about organization, or the role of organization is to ensure such behaviors which are helpful and supportive in the attainment of organizational goal. And yes, of course, to identify such behaviors also which can hamper the organization in the attainment of organizational goal. So, there is need to understand the behavior. Behavior is considered as a key factor in the effective running of organization. Reason being, behavior is exhibited by the human beings, and there are various kind of resources which helps an organization to attain its goals. Simply, if we take example of basic 5 resources, that is man. So, man is considered as the most significant resource, and its significance enhanced with the variety, with the difference and with the uniqueness of behavior. Other resources are like money, machine, material and methods, but rest of all these resources will be useful or shall be helpful in the attainment of organizational goal only when the man will act apt as per need of the organization. And if we take example of definition of behavior, that is the observable action. So, any action executed by an individual or the set of actions executed by the people in the form of group in an organization, or the sum total of all the behaviors and their outcome is the organizational behavior. So, this is meaning of the organizational behavior, but it is not sufficient to understand the concept. To understand the concept properly, there is need to go across some of the definitions of organizational behavior. After understanding the meaning and the definitions given by different authors, we shall be able to understand the concept. Reason being, if we will not understand the concept, then the practice of its principles and practice of skills related to organizational behavior for the attainment of organizational goal will become a difficulty. So, let us take the very first definition given by S. P. Robinson, and the definition given is: organizational behavior is a field of study that investigates the impact of individuals, groups and structure have an behavior within the organization for the purpose of applying such knowledge towards improving an organizational effectiveness. So, if we try to understand this definition, in this definition, three basic constituent of organization from the resource of human, from the resource of man, that is individual, group and the complete structure. These are the key element in the functioning of organization. And not only that, according to this definition, how these three key elements have impact on the functioning of organization, and functioning of organization means attainment of organizational goal. How these three basic element of organization should work interactively in such a way, so that attainment of organizational goal can become easy, productive and effective. The second definition given by Fred Luthans, who defines organizational behavior, is directly concerned with the understanding, production and control of human behavior. Luthans has taken the three basic characteristics of the human behavior, and among them the first one is understanding the production, how the behavior is created. Second, how behavior can be controlled, and third one is how it is directly concerned with the organization. So, Luthans has tried to utilize the human behavior in such a way, so that the working of organization can become effective. If we talk about next definition given by Keith Davis, and Davis defines the organizational behavior as: organizational behavior is the study and application of knowledge about how people act within organization. This is the gist, how people act, and whenever we use the word people, again it can be subclassified into three other, that is individual, how an individual behave or act, how people in group, group means a unit of organization, a department of organization, how they act. And why we are taking individual? Because each and every individual has his or her interests, and everyone acts and reacts according to their interests. And then when they are working united in the form of department, team or a group, again it is interest, and interest related to the individual as well as the interest related to the department, and yes, of course, the interest related to the organization. Further, Davis has explained that it is human tool for human benefit. So, human behavior is a human tool, or in other words, we can understand how the human behavior can be used as a tool for making the working of effective. In continuity, Davis explains it applies broadly to the behavior of people in all type of organization, such as business, government, schools. So, whatever kind of organization it may be, a business, industrial, government department, government ministries, schools, philanthropic organizations, political organization, Organization may be any type, but behavior has a key role there, and it has people, structure, technology and external environment. So, the basic constituent of environment are its people, its structure, and what kind of technology is used, and what kind of external or internal environment is there, taking all these things into stock, and how all these factors affects the behavior of individual, and how the individual or group or organizational at large can impact all these factors of business. So, there are other definitions also, definition given by Moorhead and Giffens, and other definitions given by A. P. Raman and J. Ellis. They have also tried to explain the concept of organizational behavior, and after taking all these definitions into consideration, now let us try to understand the basic feature and characteristics of organizational behavior, and why we need to understand the basic feature, characteristic and the nature of organizational behavior, because understanding of characteristic will help us to develop the principle of organizational behavior, will help us to understand the human behavior, and will help us to understand those human behaviors which are supportive in the attainment of the organizational behavior, or in other words, how the human behavior as individual, as group or organizational as a whole can help in the attainment of organizational goal. So, to understand the concept, the various definition has tried, and in that the very first thing we must understand in organizational behavior is how people think, feel, express and behave. So, behavior starts with the thinking, what I am thinking about the organization, what I am thinking about my work, what I am thinking about my colleague at workplace or the co-workers, how I am thinking about that, and what kind of feeling I have for my organization, for the structure of organization, for the various constituent of organization, and how I express them in the behavior. When we were discussing about the organizational behavior, I explained that organizational behavior is the expressed behavior, the observable behavior, the behavior which can be observed. So, how an individual expresses and how an individual act or react to the variety of situations, variety of circumstances and variety of people working with the organization. The second basic element to understand the concept of organizational behavior is how people act or react while working on the job, different situations because of different constituent of behavior, that is the feeling, the emotions, the thinking have different kind of impact on the people and structure of organization. In continuity, the organizational behavior has a direct relationship between the productivity, effectiveness and efficiency of organization. So, there can be certain set of behaviors which can help the productivity, which can enhance the effectiveness, which can increase the efficiency of people. Now, let us try to understand the productivity. Productivity, production and product. Product is, it may be any object which is a product, but how a product is produced, that is process of production. Productivity is related to all the factors of organization which can enhance the effectiveness. For example, let us take a machine. How a machine can be made more effective, more productive. The machine can be made more productive and effective by utilizing it to the maximum. So, to understand the concept of productivity, it is related to the maximum utility of a person, maximum utility of a machine, maximum utility of any of the resource of organization. We can take example of organizational capital, we can take example of organizational finance, how maximally the organizational finance can be utilized for the effectiveness of the organization, that is productivity. So, productivity is related to all the different factors of production working of the organization. Effectiveness is another factor. Effectiveness is how any of the factor will add value to the working of the organization. Efficiency, it is yes a mathematical concept, the output divided by input, what we have contributed, what we have given to the organization and what would be its outcome, and that outcome should be the measurable outcome. So, human behavior has impact on all the different factors of productivity, effectiveness and efficiency, or in other words we can say the human behavior can enhance the productivity of organization, can make the organization more effective, and yes, the human behavior can enhance the efficiency of human beings as well as of other resources. Not only that, the human behavior can be categorized into two type of behaviors, the behaviors which are productive, which are supportive, and the behavior which are counterproductive, which are deviant behavior. Deviant supportive behavior are the behaviors which will help the organization, its people and its structure to attain the goals, whereas there might be certain behaviors which will hamper, which will limit or stop the organization to attain its goals. And why we should understand about it? Yes, if we want to make the organization productive, effective and efficient, for that we need to identify such behaviors. Let us take example of some of such behaviors which are supportive in the attainment of organizational behavior and certain behaviors which are not supportive or counterproductive or hampering the organization to attain its goal. Late coming, wasting the time in discussing useless topics in the organization, uselessly using organizational resources. These are some of the factors of counterproductive work behavior, but there are certain set of behaviors which are helpful in attainment of organizational goals, and among them cooperativeness, coordination, synchronization are some of the behaviors. If the individuals, the groups or organization as a whole has tendency of cooperation among each other, the effectiveness, productivity and efficiency of organization will go high. Similarly, the deviant behavior will stop the organization to attain its goal. So, these are some of the basic concepts in the organizational behavior. Now, concluding to what organizational behavior is the set of behaviors which can be practiced in the organization for effective, productive and efficient attainment of organizational goal. Without understanding the human behavior at work, it is not possible to attain the goal of organization. So, by understanding the meaning, the definitions and the concept of organizational behavior, now we can move further, and if we want to practice the organizational behavior concept or its skills in the organization, yes, we need to understand the objective of organizational behavior. For what purpose we should understand the organizational behavior? This is a key concept. So, if we talk about the objective, the very first objective is selecting the right employees. The organizational behavior starts working in the organization from the process of selection of employees itself. If we talk about the past process of selection for the employees, each selection board or each selection panel will have one psychologist, and that psychologist is part of the panel for the interview or selection process to understand the behavior, what kind of behavior individual has got as a candidate, and why there is need to understand that, whether the behavior of individual is appropriate for the performance of job or not. How we can understand that? Let us take example of any three jobs: the job of a doctor, the job of a police wala, and the job of air hostess. The doctor should have a typical type of behavior, whereas the behavior of police wala should be different, because the police wala will deal with the criminals and he has to investigate the crime. So, his behavior should be different, whereas in case of doctor, the doctor has to deal with the sick people, the people those who are suffering from different diseases, their situations are different. So, the behavior of both of them should be different. So, while selecting a candidate, the role of organizational behavior is to understand whether the individual's behavior, by taking a sample of that, by asking the candidate to execute certain kind of activities or even asking certain kind of questions, the sample of behavior of individual can be taken. So, this is very first objective of organizational behavior. So, we were talking about understanding the employee's behavior, and yes, if we want to make our organization successful in the course of attainment of its goals, we need to understand the behavior. This was for the day, and thank you very much for listening patiently, and I think it would be useful for all of you, and with this we conclude the session, and in the next session we will come up with a new topic. Thank you very much.